Hi everyone, I'm Corinne Samuels. Welcome to my channel, Tawishma's Hut. As we all know, February has been designated as Black History Month, and being from the Caribbean, being a Jamaican, I wanted to highlight the history of our people of excellence from the Caribbean. And I'm going to start by talking about Nanny of the Maroons. Before I speak specifically about Nanny, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Maroons. Now, the Maroons are a unique people who still live on the island of Jamaica. They are a self-governing body because of the many treaties that their ancestors had signed. So they have been given land that's primarily their land, and they live in a community by themselves for the most part. So the Maroons were formerly enslaved people who the Spanish brought to Jamaica. And there are two versions of how the Maroons came to live in the mountains of Jamaica. So one version is that when the British waged war against the Spanish, the enslaved peoples, they escaped into the mountains. Another version said that the Spanish released their slaves after their defeat and they had to leave the islands. Either way, you have these formerly enslaved people who are now living an autonomous life in the mountains of Jamaica. And oftentimes I stop to think about how empowering, how impactful their presence must have been. Can you imagine these newly enslaved people who somehow or other discovered that there were freed people on the island who looked just like them? And the Maroons were instrumental in first creating situations that led to the amelioration of slavery in the Caribbean and the Americas, and eventually the abolition of slavery. Okay, so moving on to Nanny of the Maroons. Now, in the 18th century, she led formerly enslaved people to freedom on the island of Jamaica. In the early 18th century, under the leadership of Nanny, the Windward Maroons fought a guerrilla war over many years against the British in what became known as the First Maroon War. According to the oral history of Maroons, Queen Nanny, as she was called, and she was from Ghana, she was of the Akan people. It is a widely held view that she was never enslaved. This part of her history is unclear. Some say that she was never enslaved, but she came to Jamaica. And how she came to Jamaica is unclear. Some people said that she herself owned slaves. Some people said that she had been captured and she jumped ship when she got to Jamaica. There are many versions of the story, but whatever it was, the Maroons attributed their success against the British to the successful use of supernatural powers by Nanny. She was a great tactician, and she came up with many and various ways of overpowering the British. Therefore, having failed to defeat them on the battlefield, the British decided to sign a peace treaty with them, which was signed on April 20th, 1740. The treaty stopped the hostilities, provided for state-sanctioned freedom for the Maroons, and granted 500 acres of land to Nanny and her followers. The village built on the land grant still stands, and today it is called Moortown, and this is in the parish of Portland. It is also known as New Nanny Town. In 1975, the government of Jamaica declared Nanny as their only female national hero, celebrating her success as a leader, military tactician, and strategist. Her image is also on the Jamaican $500 bill, which Jamaicans lovingly refer to as the Nanny. Now, her contribution is extremely important because she was a leader during a time where there was mostly male leaders. So as a female, she stood tall and she was proud of who she was as an individual, and she was able to use her brain power to come up with these amazing strategies that ensured that her people were free and stayed free, and like I said, also impacted the impacted enslaved people on the island, which eventually led to the amelioration of slavery and eventually the abolition of slavery. So that's um, it for Nanny of the Maroon. I will be coming back at you with another Caribbean person of excellence over this Black History Month. Take care, be safe, and be well.